Tarryn was born on the 15th of September 2000. And when she was born, we didn't know that she had a disability until a couple of days later. We found out she had Down syndrome. I was 26, and we'd had 2 children before with a disability that ended up passing away. So it was a bit of a shock to the system to get another blow. We managed to get Tarryn home quite early though, so she was home within just less than a week. We had her at home, and because we'd had a child with a disability before, it was really easy for us to move into the disability world and the culture because we'd already been there before. So when Tarryn was 6 weeks old, we attended a group called ABCD group, which is Aim Best for Children with Down syndrome, and it was at that group that we were introduced to Makaton, which is a gestured form of signing, and it was designed in England by a lady for people with severe intellectual disabilities. And that was because it's common for children with Down syndrome to have difficulty with speech. And so it's quite common for families to use sign language or Makaton up until they turn 5, and then they tend to drop off. However, what we found was Tarryn really took off on the signing. So at the age of 3, we needed to go and learn more. She was picking it up too quick. We couldn't keep ahead of her. I went to, there was nowhere to go and learn Makaton. So that's where I got introduced to New Zealand Sign Language. I went to night school to learn, and that was really scary, walking into a room with a deaf tutor who didn't communicate only with sign, and I didn't know sign. So that was really scary, but one of the best things I ever did, learning New Zealand Sign Language. And New Zealand Sign Language is really addictive. So once you start learning, you just want to learn more. So I went right through to level 3 New Zealand Sign Language, and then went to Victoria University to do my deaf studies there as well. And all of that helped us with Tarryn, because Tarryn naturally used gestures to communicate, and she picked up sign language. You would only ever teach her a sign once and she'd remember it. I'd forget it, and I'd ask her, you know, what's the sign for turtle? She'd go, oh, turtle, and she'd just sign it to us. So she just picked it up. It was something that's really natural to her, and gave her that real opening to be able to communicate with us and with her family. And as it went on, her older sister really took on the signing as well. Shalise was just a great mentor for Tarryn, and they had great conversations signing together. And where if she didn't have sign, she wouldn't have been able to have that banter with her sister, because she had no speech, nothing at all. So that was really hard for us. As you can tell, I love to talk, so it's really hard to say to me that my child can't talk or she has a difficulty with speech. And I couldn't live with that, so I wanted to learn more. And I was one of those parents that went, oh no, well, I can't use sign, because, you know, learning sign, then they won't. You can't tell me as a parent that loves to talk that it's okay for my child not to talk, and that signing is just okay. And I couldn't get my head around that until I looked at Tarryn, and I could see that communication was the key. You know, it'd be great if that communication was spoken, but if it's not, at least she's getting some communication through sign. And then as we progressed, we realised that, well, we've got, you know, 2 other children that we're using spoken language with, and my husband and I both are hearing, so we were talking a lot. So actually we did a lot more of what they call sign-supported English. So we signed and we talked at the same time, and so that really helped with the communication, and we realised that that was working for Tarryn. So it didn't necessarily need to always be full NZSL. Sometimes we did, if it was a new concept for Tarryn, we used full NZSL, because she seemed to understand it a lot better and a lot quicker when we did it that way. And then the more she used sign, the more the speech came. Her first school that she attended, she was there for 2 years. Unfortunately didn't embrace the signing, and I was still learning as a mother how important signing was for her. And we left that school to go to her current school, and she left with a report that she couldn't read, couldn't write, couldn't do anything. After 6 weeks being at the new school, we had our first IEP, which is an individual education plan, and they told me that Tarryn was up to level 3 reading books, that she could write her own name, and she was doing everything she was supposed to be doing. Now, the new school was fantastic, but they didn't teach her that in 6 weeks. But what they did do is they embraced the signing. So that meant that when Tarryn sat down to her book, she couldn't say the words, but she could tell them that she knew the words by signing them. Now that she's got this beautiful signing and being able to communicate, she's got a wonderful group of friends at school that have been grown up with her at school, so they've all got that basic sign to be able to communicate with her. She goes to sleepovers like everyone else, and she goes swimming with her friends. She can even go up and order her own ice cream and her frozen Coke from McDonald's. She goes to cheerleading, and she's taught the team all those basic signs as well. She goes to Girls Brigade. You know, she does all those community activities that every other child has the opportunity to go to. And Tarryn is part of this community just like everyone else, and she has the right to access the community like everyone else. She takes a local bus. She communicates with them because she knows that they may not know sign, so she uses more gestures, and she just keeps going until they understand it. She does it to me because I don't always understand what she's saying either, and she'll just keep going and give me that look of, oh, come on, mum. And, you know, to be able to access the world and have friends, and that's a full life. And that's what you want for anybody, to be able to have full access to everything.